everyone, and welcome to Read This Now, the weekly webcast where Brad Gustafson and I share two books that we love and we think you should read when, Brad?
Right now, people, because they're that good.
They're epic.
Epic, yes. I have an epic one. What about you?
Absolutely. I have been dying to share this book all week long, so I can't wait to hear about yours so that then I'm able to share mine.
Okay. So I don't want to go so far as to say this is a first in the illustrious history of Read This Now, but it doesn't happen often. So probably maybe once or twice before. Usually when I book talk, I try to do like maybe the first book in a series. This book right now is so ridiculously good that I've book talked a while ago, an earlier book in the series. I'm having to come back to it because it is the exclamation point in the series that nobody saw coming. Nobody. So here we go.
I can't wait.
Let's go. Yeah. Oh, you can't wait. Sorry, I thought you said wait. Okay, here we go.
No.
There's no stopping this train, Jen. There's no stopping this train. So several years ago, whenever, I probably book talked Scythe by Shusterman and
Yes. Neal Shusterman. Let me pause you for just a second because I know what book is coming up. Yep. And when I heard it was coming out, I was like, I know Brad is going to be just like in line at the bookstore waiting to get it on the release day. So I'm so excited. Go on, my friend.
Yeah, well, okay, now you got me tempted. 30-second side story. Yeah. So I was airing all the grievances of my readers' hearts to my wife this weekend. And here's what the grievances are. Like, Deb, there are some series, and this one right here, I love so much. I feel like I want to reread them just because I'm in love with them. And sometimes I don't remember all the details, and I want to remember the details. And there are actually two series that come to mind, but it would be a year's worth of reading because one of the series, another one is just a mega commitment, and I don't want to give up on all the other good books that are coming out and stuff. So this was the car ride where I was just like, what do I do? Because anyway, she's probably like, you think you got problems, Brad?
No. I'm gonna jump in and say I feel the same way about several seasons, and so every year at the holidays when I'm doing my gift wrapping of presents and stuff, I listen to the audiobooks of a series that I love so I can revisit them while I'm doing something else and just get the opportunity to hang out with these friends that I love so much without ever like taking time away from other books that need to be read because I'm doing something else, and because I know about I know the plot and what's going to happen, I can be busy doing other things when that's happening. So I know exactly what you're saying, and that's how I deal with it.
That is genius. Thank you for sharing that, by the way, because I'm going to do that even on the commute. Like that would be a way to do it. So okay, awesome. I feel like I got my money's worth out of the show already.
Yay, show done. So, let's just go ahead and wrap it up. No, just
the book that I felt so compelled to share, and I have already removed the dust jacket, so I apologize. It is Gleanings. It's from the Scythe, and this one befuddles me. The Scythe trilogy. Can't talk today. Yes. So it was the original 3 books, which were superb, and then this 4th book came out, and I don't know the backstory. If you can do that on a trilogy, you can add a 4th book.
I think you can do whatever you want. If you're the author, you can do whatever you want.
Well, they did, and it is incredible. So I don't even know if I need to get into the backstory of the whole plot. What I will say is that futuristic world, and as part there's this artificial intelligence that helps humanity just with everything, live forever, little stuff like that, right? But in order to control the population, there are people known as scythes. I think I'm saying that right.
That's correct. Scythe.
They glean people. It's a very prestigious honor, and that helps. That's the only way a person can permanently die. If they die any other way, they can be revived at a revival station, but scythes have the job to glean people. So enter in this bonus book with just, it picks up from past books. It has some future things and maybe even foreshadowing. I don't even know, but just some cool, almost random stories put together. So it reminds me a ton of, sometimes you finish a book and you just don't want it to be done. like literally I will page through, I'll reread the acknowledgments, I'll read the epilogue, I'll read everything just to try to keep in the moment in the book. This is like the icing on the cake for anyone who
I love
still
it.
wanted the Scythedom to continue. It's
Yes.
like the gold Cadillac of having that happen. Here's what
I love that so much.
one other thing about this. There are several co-authors that haven't been part of previous books in the trilogy, and so, this is just my take on it. Some of them, the wild, zany, creative approach they added in collaboration with the original author was really, really cool and refreshing and mind blowing. Gosh, I don't want to give it away. I'm not going to give anything away, but it's really
Wow.
cool and just a gift for yourself. So if you're someone who is part of the holiday season exchanges gifts, buy this or buy the Scythe trilogy for yourself, because you need to read this now to stick with the show theme.
I had no idea that there were multiple authors of this last book. I mean, of this latest book. I mean, we assume it's the last, but who knows, right? There could be another. But
I
this
hope it's
latest book,
not.
I had no idea that there were multiple authors. That's cool. That's really intriguing to me. I can't wait to look into that more deeply.
It is. And I would love to know more how that happened. For example,
Yeah.
like, did people reach out and share, hey, here's a story branch or whatever, and then like did they get invited in,
Yeah.
like, hey, let's develop, let's write that, because it does feel, some of these, it's so cool and creative. It's just wild. Like, one of them, I
Yeah.
will say, it explores the dreamdom or people's, oops, I think I bumped my camera again. I always do
That's
that
all
when I get
right.
excited.
That's
Anyway,
okay.
it explores how scythes play out in, anyway, I can't explain it as well. You got to read the series.
Wow, that's so cool. The Scythe, that whole trilogy, or now a 4-book series, um there's just certain language in that book, certain vocabulary that is stuck with me. Like, in our house we have a few of the Alexa devices, and I always called it the Thunderhead. I'm always like, let me ask the Thunderhead. Like, that kind of stuff, that universe has seeped in to my like everyday thinking a little bit. And I don't know, I think that fantasy sci-fi books have a way of doing that generally, but the best ones are the ones where you continue to feel a part of that world after the books are over. And I feel like that series for sure did that.
We totally need to talk after you read this, because I don't
Okay.
want to give stuff away, but you're triggering all kinds of things I need to talk to you about.
Wow. Okay. All right. I'll get on it. I will add it to my list right away. Well, the book I have to book talk this week is really a departure from the one that you shared, but that I've been anxious to share because I loved it so much. I feel like this year, as you get towards the end of the year and all the sort of best of lists start coming out, I start looking at them and realizing that as much as I read, there's always like some area that I've fallen short, like I think, oh, I didn't read as many of these this year, or whatever it is. And so this year I've sort of been feeling like that about picture books. I've really spent a lot of time in middle grade and YA this year, but I don't feel like I read as many picture books this year as I have in years past. So I've been diving into them. And this is one that I found recently that I loved for a lot of different reasons. I'm going to go ahead and show you the cover. I don't know if you've heard of it. It's called 1 Million Trees, A True Story. Have you heard of this book, Brad?
No, I haven't.
Okay, so it is, I'll tell you quickly just about the plot. It's the true story of the author, illustrator, Kristen Balouch, who, when she was 10 years old, she came home from school one day. Her parents had her whole family's like bags packed and everything else. And they said, we're leaving, we're going away for a few months. We're going to Canada, where we are going to help plant 1 million trees. And so she and her family at 10 years old, they get on a plane, they go to the far reaches of northern Canada, and they spend 4 or 5 months along with a whole team of other people trying to plant 1 million trees, 1 million trees, to replace trees that had been logged, an old growth forest that had been logged. And the book chronicles that journey of
Mm.
them going to Canada and what they experience and what all their different jobs are and how every single day they meet different people and what it takes to plant a tree and how you plant it wrong and how you plant it right and how different trees need different things and all the ways that trees affect our planet and affect our world and how important they are. And it's a wonderful story. It's really, I think, one of the things that drew me to it was, the news in general, but certainly the news about our planet and climate can be really scary for kids and can make them feel sort of helpless. Like, there's, especially in our sort of sensational news environment where all the news is the worst news ever. And for kids, hearing adults talk about it or hearing it on the TV or the radio or whatever, they can feel sort of like, well, what's the point? Like if we're all doomed, then what's the point of this? And I love the story of how a small group of people together can really make a difference. But if I'm being really, really honest, the thing I loved most about this book were the illustrations, because they reminded me so much of books when I was a kid. Do you remember the Richard Scarry books like Busy Town?
Mm-mm.
Okay, so as a kid, I was obsessed with these books, and maybe a couple of our 3.5 readers will remember these books from when I was a kid. But essentially, like, there was like Busy Planet, Busy Town, whatever, and it's these books that have like a million things on the page to emphasize all the things that are going on at the same time. And as a kid, you can explore those books over and over and over again and never see the same things. And so I was drawn to, we start out when she gets home, right? You've got the parents talking about what they're going to do. And then the very next page is her suitcase and all the things that are being packed. And I thought, oh, that's pretty fun. I could imagine just like looking through all of that. But then when we get to the camp where we are going to plant our trees, we start meeting all the people down at the bottom of the page. We start seeing in the later pages all the animals that they're going to encounter in the forest, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. And for me, it was such a throwback to those Richard Scarry books where, and this is, I love this so much, Brad. The story itself appears in this big bold print, right? And then there's smaller print throughout that are kind of like identifying the different things because they're in Canada. The people that they meet speak French. So there's lots of, how do you say moose in French? And it'll say what it is there. I loved it. I read it about, I don't know, like 10 times. I just sat there going through it over and over and over again. And I just thought of kids who could just spend hours lost in this book and never have the same experience twice. Because every time that you read it, you would notice something else. And then last but not least, the fun thing I loved also was there's an author's note at the end that talks about how this really happened to her and about her experience and how she she's always wanted to share this story and how she took her own kids back to see the forest that she planted all those years ago. So it's called 1,000,000 Trees, a true story. It's by Kristen Balouch, and I think you should read it right now. I really loved it. It's one of my favorite books of the year.
It sounds incredible. I love reading books like that, and this reading for myself, but also with students in our school, because you can read them depending on the reader and what they're interested in so many different ways.
Yes, exactly. I love these. I mean, picture books do this, I think, naturally, but some picture books really lend themselves to different reader ages and different reader experiences. Kids who aren't yet, able to decode text or still sort of like at the beginning of that journey can experience this book just through the pictures or through a read aloud with an adult in a way that's joyful and teach them things, etc. But kids who are independent readers can experience this book in a whole different way, having heard the story maybe many times before, can read it themselves and get a whole new experience out of it because of all the other little things that are going on all over the page. I just loved it. I can't say enough about it.
Very, very cool. If you're interested in reading or seeing more about what books Jenn and I have talked about this year and over the years, go to bit.ly/read_this_now and check out the really cool repository. Is that what it is? A repository?
That's perfect. Yep, that's exactly what it is. We're getting ready to flip over to a new year, but I'll be, every year I sort of feverishly add up all the books that we've shared in the different categories. So I'll be excited to share those.
I can't wait to
during
see.
our last show of the year. I always love that because I'm nerd. I love me some data.
I'm with you on that one. All right, Jen, it has been a treat as always.
You too, my friend, and to my 3.5 readers, our 3.5 readers, thank you so much. We appreciate you. We'll see you next week. Happy reading, everyone.